What is your schedule like today, tomorrow, the next day, through the cuts?
Yeah, so today we had the players in, we watched the tape. They got a workout. Tomorrow we'll go out and have a pretty quick practice, and then we'll do a longer practice on, was that Monday? Then Tuesday, just meetings in the afternoon, and then Wednesday we'll have another practice.
Have you guys decided yet whether you're going to take Mason off pup before Tuesday?
Have not.
How about team reps for Elton and Bobby?
Yeah, we'll see how they, respond over the next, till tomorrow, and then we'll make a decision. But ideally, if we feel like they're in a good spot, then that could potentially be on the table.
Matt, when you look at Jordan's training camp and preseason, everything as a whole, what did you think?
Man, I think that I see a lot more decisive player out there that is letting the ball rip. And I know, I think a lot of times we all get enamored by numbers. I don't think the numbers in this instance really tell give it a great sense of how he did. I think he graded out pretty well. Certainly it's not perfect. It's never going to be perfect. And, there's a couple throws that I'm sure he would like to have back. But I thought all in all, it was definitely a step in the right direction for him. I think we have a lot of confidence, if need be, if he had to go in there, that absolutely could win a game. And so, I thought it was a really productive training camp for him. And, you also got to look at he wasn't necessarily playing with all the starters. I mean, missing a couple of those wide receivers, obviously, the two running backs, two of the tight ends. So it's not like he was going with all the weapons that we have on our roster.
Matt, on the interception, one timeout left. Is that where does he just need to check the ball down and try to get closer to field goal range there when you look back at the film?
Yeah, we talked about that one. I'm not necessarily upset with the decision. I think that was a fine decision. I just think with where because they were playing a form of a Tampa 2. And the further you throw that ball down the field, the more chance a safety has a chance to make a play on the ball. So I think with where the defender was and where Alizé was, if he would have thrown a back shoulder ball, it would have been a better decision on that throw. And if you are going to throw it like that, you probably need to check the ball down. Obviously, with what happened with that result.
Matt, on the list of guys that didn't play, was Tipa hurt or was he just held out?
Yeah, he got dinged up a little bit.
And Matt, going back to Jordan for a second, how much did he, I don't want to say change your opinion of him because you knew he was developing the last 2 years, but obviously he had some really rough times. Like did what he did this camp and this preseason change maybe what you see for him as kind of the future and where he's headed?
Yeah, it's hard to predict the future, right? But I think he had just a lot of productive moments. I think he's shown a lot of growth and just the consistency with what you see with his fundamentals, his footwork. He looks much more fluid. I would think we can all agree with that. I think he looks much more decisive. The ball is coming out of his hands. I don't see a whole lot of hesitation in his play. I think he's done a much better job and has a much better grasp of protections and how to adjust those, and when he needs to get the ball out. So I thought, I think Tom's done a hell of a job with him. Connor Lewis does a great job in there as well. And like I've said all along, and I think Aaron has been instrumental in his growth as well. So I think collectively that room, we've seen a lot of growth from that room.
I asked you about outside linebacker the other day, and you're hoping that a couple guys would maybe step to the forefront there. Did you see that on Tuesday and Thursday?
Yeah, there were some good moments. Certainly, I don't think we got a ton of pressure on the quarterback, but there was guys were playing hard. Sometimes that ball was coming out pretty quick. There was a lot of RPOs in the game. I think you guys saw it on both sides. Do we have confidence in that room? Absolutely, and we still know there's some young guys in that room that need to continue to develop and get more reps, and which is always the challenge when you start transitioning into the season. Just the number of practice reps you get in a practice are very limited, but, you know, I still think there's room for growth throughout the course of the year for those guys.
At this point in the calendar, what do you think you have in Jake Hansen as far as what he gives you on offense?
Yeah, I think Jake's shown another guy that's come a long ways from, you know, when he first got here. You know, he did a nice job. I think he definitely gives us a lot in the run game, and he's got the versatility that you look for. I mean, the guy can play really any of the inside three positions, and so he's a guy that we're excited about.
Do you see him filling kind of that Lucas Patrick role that Lucas vacated?
Yeah, potentially. I mean, we're far from solidifying our starters, and a lot of it is going to be dependent upon what's Elton's status, what's David's status. So, you know, which it doesn't make it easy on us in terms of forecasting, projecting who's going to be starting week 1.
Matt, you talked about Quay after the game. I'm wondering, where do you think Wyatt is at? How his camp went? He didn't seem very pleased with his camp when we all talked to him last week. And what's realistic to expect of him, given he's got some pretty good guys?
Yeah, I think it's, you know, I think every game plan might have a little different plan for Devontae. Certainly young player, and I think I mentioned it before in terms of the D-line position, the outside backer position. Typically, there's a little bit more of a learning curve there, but I do think that he's eager. He gives great effort. You know, he's got to continue to, I would say, push through when he gets tired. I think a lot of young guys coming into this league don't understand just exactly how hard they have to work on every play in order to be productive. And just not only that, but just the focus and concentration that each play entails, and that you have to commit to that. And that's not always easy, because I think you can get away with that in college when you are much more talented typically than the guys you're going against.
Hey, Matt, do you still not actually know if Elton and or Dave will be ready? And that's something that for week 1, I mean.
Yeah, we have no idea.
Matt,
I mean, it's hard to project that without being through practice, see how they respond, and, you know, getting into team reps. So, you know, like I've said all along, and I know you guys probably roll your eyes every time I say it, but we're going to take it day to day.
Why do you think we roll our eyes so much here? We don't roll our eyes at you.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Rob.
Maybe he can't see me. Maybe.
Yeah.
What up? You and Goody obviously have worked together for a long time now. I'm guessing there's maybe been a player or two in the last 3 years when he got down to this where maybe you saw it one way and he saw it another.
Trying to get it, Jason.
Well,
Trying to start a fire over here. No, I think that's the case everywhere you go.
Sure.
There's always going to be, and I do respect the position that both of us are in, because a lot of times in coaching, I think you're just thinking about today and not a year from now. And I think there is a balance that you have to, that is a good thing for when somebody has to like look at just the talent level of a player. And I think we've all learned that I know I have, I think I can speak for myself, that there is a development process that has to take place. And for some guys, it happens a little bit quicker than other guys. But if you see talent in somebody's body, then you got to give the young player the benefit of the doubt and allow them to mature and learn the game, because it is so different. And I think we see it all the time. And sometimes it works out, and sometimes it doesn't quite work out for whatever reason. And I think that is always, you know, one of the tricky parts of whether you're selecting a player in the draft is just, I mean, all you have to do is go through everybody's draft picks. It's not like you hit on every one. Like there are mistakes that are going to be made, and that's just the nature of the beast. You know, it's just so imperfect. But I think when you look for the traits, I think we're very much on the same page of what we're looking for. And, you know, what's great about, I would say, about our relationship and where we've come is just to have the debate. And I never feel like it ever gets contentious or anything like that. Sometimes, you know, you can agree to disagree and you work through everything, but I do believe and I trust that Goody and his staff, they do a hell of a job, and we're lucky that they see, I would say, the majority of the guys the same way we see them as a coaching staff. So we're without a doubt on the same page and always working through, if there is any differences in opinion, we're always working through that.
How do you keep it from becoming contentious, especially when timelines might not always overlap? Is that personality? Is that relationship away from the facility? How do
I
you-
think all of the above. I think that I know that I've got a lot of trust in him, and I think he's got a lot of trust in myself and our staff. So, you know, it's just it's been fun. Not to say that there hasn't been disagreements in the past. There always is. I think you can look at any building, unless the coach is in charge of personnel, which, you know, we've all seen it be successful and unsuccessful. There's no perfect way, but I think as long as you're having productive conversation and you know, you always want to be truthful with one another, whether you agree or not. And I think that's one of the benefits. And again, I've got total confidence and trust in him and his staff.
What went into the decision not to play Christian, and how close is he to being game ready?
Yeah, that's a great question. In terms of our medical staff thought it would be in his best interest to give him 2 more weeks before we put him in a situation like that, like in a game type situation. So, you know, that's why he didn't play.
And then speaking of personnel conversations, every time we talk to Aaron about wide receivers, it feels like he brings up Juwan Winfrey. Some of us were here when he would politic for Jake Kumerow. I'm wondering how his role is in these conversations, and if your quarterback really likes a receiver, that's obviously an area that would probably be under his expertise. Does he have a seat at the table for that sort of conversation?
Yeah, I think absolutely. You know, I know that he's engaged in a lot of conversations with myself, and he's engaged in a lot of conversations with Goody. So I think that's something over the next couple of days that we're just going to have to work through. Just, you know, his opinion, not only of the wide receiver position, but in particular the guys on offense. And also, I think he's got a great feel for our locker room and who really fits in well, and you know, who might not.
Are there starting jobs up for grabs yet? And if so, is that what this week, I mean, there's a lot of things you're doing this week, but is that part of this week's focus, is to get things all settled so you can have a group, a core group, to get ready for the Vikings the following week?
Yeah, I would say you could never, you know, exhale in this league as a starter or not. Otherwise, you're not going to be at your best. So I think the mindset is always we're trying to find the best 11 to put out there. And I think you could argue at some positions more so than others that there still are jobs up on the line. And, you know, like we mentioned with some of that, with the offensive line in terms of who's available and who's not. So I think these guys, they understand that, and it is a day-to-day league. And plus you never know who's going to be available from another team. And I think that I know our personnel people are going to work really, really hard if they see an opportunity to upgrade our roster. I would think that they would jump at that.
2 more, please.
Matt, you're a smart guy. You know how narratives work. Given what happened last year on special teams and then bringing in Rich, you know that's going to be a focus this year. With what's happened in the preseason, I mean, I understand some of those guys aren't even going to be on your team. No offense to them, but do you feel good about where the special teams, the coverage units, the protection units, the blocking units are, even if things haven't looked the way you might have wanted them to in the games?
Yeah, no, we certainly played a lot of guys, and that was by design. We wanted to get a good evaluation on each and every individual that could potentially contribute to our football team. So that's been a big time emphasis. Is it where we want it to be? I think I can honestly say no, it's not where we want it to be, but I don't think any phase is at this point. And I think we're going to have to go out there and prove it. And we're going to have to prove it week 1, and then you're going to have to prove it every game after that. So you're only as good as your last game, and we understand the criticism that comes with it. And that this is a big boy league, and you know, there's a lot of eyes on every player that steps out on that field. So Unfortunately, it was definitely not good enough the other night. That's for sure. I think we definitely got it taken to us pretty good by Kansas City, and our guys understand that, and we're never going to run from that or hide from that. You got to tell them the truth. And the thing that I would like to see is just some of the things that we do in practice. You'd like to see that carry over to the game, and not just these made up techniques that we don't necessarily we don't coach and we don't see in practice. So that, I think that's the most frustrating thing, is when you see that, or a lack of effort. The things that you can control, because there's some things that are out of your control, but the lack of effort, and it wasn't everybody, but there were a couple guys that it was glaring on tape. It's like, you cannot put this on film, not only for the Green Bay Packers, but for the entire league. Everybody's watching this tape.